Hello, welcome to the next video. Today we are going to study about learning and its types. So let's proceed. Meaning of learning. Learning is defined as any relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of practice and experience. This process has three elements. Learning is a change in behavior, better or worse. It is change that take place through practice or experience. But changes due to growth or maturation are not learning. This change in behavior must be relatively permanent and it must last a fairly long time. The term learning is used in two forms in psychology as a process and as a product. As a process, learning means that process by which man receives new facts and learns how to do new activities, and as a product, learning means that behavioral change in man which is caused by the knowledge of new facts. Scholars are defined as learning as the process of learning in many ways. Various scholars have defined it. Crow and Crow. According to Crow and Crow, learning is the acquisition of habits, knowledge, and attitude. If we acquire some habits, it is a learning. If we acquire some knowledge, it is learning, and if acquire some attitude, it is a learning according to Crow and Crow. According to Gates and others, learning is the modification of behavior through experience and training. Professor Gates had said if any modification in our behavior through our experience and through training, that is called learning. Charles E. Skinner has said, learning is a process of progressive behavior adaptation. Anything we adopt in our behavior is called learning. According to Blair, Jones, and Simpson, learning is neither behavioral change nor adjustment with environment by behavioral change. The view of Blair, Johnson, and Simpson is quite different from the above two. So it may be concluded on the basis of above learning definitions, any change of behavior which is a result of experience and which causes people to face later situation differently may be called learning. By learning is meant acquiring new facts and getting training in new activities by any method of experience, teaching, training, or study, and to retain these over many days and to use these when need, and thus to give a proper direction to one's behavior. Now let's know about nature and characteristic of learning. Learning is the inherent nature of man. Learning is the inherent nature of man. This is another thing that this tendency is very intense in some individuals, normal in some, and low in others. It means the intensity of learning is different for different persons. Anyone can learn anything very quickly, or some another persons may take some time. They may slow learned. Man also possesses the instinct of curiosity. Whenever he perceives a new object or activity, he starts to ask what, how, and why about it. So, our curiosity provokes us to learn. Learning is both a process and a product. Man learns by imitation, observation, teaching, training, and study. We learn through copying. Man learns by imitation, observation, teaching, training, and study. From this viewpoint, learning is a process, and there is no meaning of learning until it offers change in human behavior, physical or maybe mental. Learning from this viewpoint of behavioral change is an outcome. So, the behavioral change is outcome in the process of learning. Learning is a purposeful. All being in the whole learn to adjust with their circumstances, including man, but man has other purpose in addition to it. He learns the language and behavioral norms of the society in order to adjust with it. He learns his culture in order to get prestige in the society. He learns a skill in his vocation and industry. So the meaning of learning can be done for a attainment of purpose. So learning is a purposeful. For economic development, we learn anything for our economic development, for our vocation, for acquisition of a skill. So learning is a purposeful process. Learning is a lifelong process. Generally it is understood that man learns general behavior in his family and receives specific knowledge in schools, colleges and university, but in fact he learns lifelong. So the learning process is a lifelong. It means through all over our life we learn anything, something new and experience it. So learning is a never ending process. It is a lifelong process. There are three elements in the process of learning. The first is process of learning a new knowledge or skill. First, what we do is we first learn any new knowledge or skill. Then we do, we retain this knowledge and skill and apply. And after that, retaining this skill, we apply this knowledge and skill whenever we need. So the process of learning has three elements, that is acquisition of a skill, retaining of a skill and applying of a skill. Now the sixth point is learning is a sequential process, and the seventh is learning depends on heredity and environment both. Previous experience and knowledge is important in the process of learning. Motivation is very important in learning. Satisfaction and contentment are important in learning. Now after characteristics of learning, we know about types of learning. Motor learning. Most of our activities in our day-to-day life refer to motor activities. The individual has to learn them in order to maintain his regular life. For example, walking, running, skating, climbing, adhesive verbal learning. This type of learning involves the language we speak, the communication devices we use. Sign, pictures, symbols, words, figures, sounds are the tools used in such activities. We use words for communication. Concept learning, it is a form of learning which require higher order mental process like thinking, reasoning, intelligence. Now the fourth one is discrimination learning. Learning to differentiate between stimuli and showing an appropriate response to those stimuli is called discrimination learning. For example, sound horns of different vehicles like car and ambulance. Learning of principles. Individual learn certain principles related to science, mathematics, grammar, etc. In order to manage their work effectively. These principles always show the relationship between two or more concepts. Problem solving learning. This is a higher order learning process. This learning requires the use of cognitive abilities such as thinking, reasoning, observation, imagination, generalization. This is a very useful to overcome difficult problems of encountered by the problem. Attitude learning. Attitude is a predisposition which determines and directs our behavior. We develop different attitudes from our childhood about the people, object and everything we know. Our behavior may be positive or negative depending upon our attitude. Examples: attitude of nurse towards her profession, patients. So this is all about learning from my side. Thank you.